Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pitch to Profit podcast. I am your host, Oliver Keane. Today, we're going to be looking at a very interesting subject in the world of football business, and that is centered around American ownership in English football. I will be looking at how English football has been overtaken by American ownership, for better or for worse, the reasons behind this, both from an industry perspective financially, but also why there might be a sporting interest in it as well, in their success. And I'll be looking at the NFL, the National Football League, which is the primary American football league in the United States of America, and how it is connected to football inherently, and how it may in the future be a bigger part of the football landscape as the two sports are starting to merge a little bit more in terms of their connections in the industry. Before I begin the video, if you want to see more business topic videos like this or interviews, which we have several of now on the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Anyone subscribe, it would be really appreciated as I look to grow the channel. Thank you very much, and we'll get straight into it. So, the first thing that has to be considered with American ownership is the reasons why in English football, because they have their own football, both the NFL, but also what they term as soccer in Major League Soccer, the MLS. But there's a difference between American sports and European sport, particularly English, and that is the franchise versus promotion and relegation system. So, what is a franchise? We don't term our clubs here in England as franchises, we term them as clubs. In America, they're franchises. You have to have a buy-in to own a franchise. You think of David Beckham at Inter Miami. Now, he got gifted that because the MLS negotiated his deal to Los Angeles Galaxy years ago when he was a player. So they negotiate things as a league, as a collective, rather than as individual clubs. So they're almost reliant on the success of all the franchises under that one system. Obviously, there's rivalries. That's how sports works. But they work more as a collective, and that is the kind of franchise system, and it is really expensive to buy into it because it's a closed shop. Now in America, the worse you do, at least there is a benefit to that. Now in the NFL, the 32 ranked team, so the lowest team with the worst record, will get the number one draft pick out of the players coming out of college the following year. So they will get the first pick of whoever they want, typically a quarterback, but it's whomever they want, right? Unless they've traded away that pick in a prior trade deal. But if you're going based off the structure, that's how it be. The Super Bowl champions, who are the best team in the NFL, will get the 32nd overall pick. So that's how that works. And in terms of buying into the league, it's very expensive. Football, particularly in England, is a promotion and relegation system. So in England, you have the top four tiers. You have the Premier League, the EFL Championship, the EFL League One, and the EFL League Two. There are other leagues below that. The National League might end up being the fifth tier of English football. It might be brought in professionally, but that's about the limit of professionalism in England. Below that, it's kind of non-league. So if we focus on the top four, the 92 clubs, any club from the Premier League to League Two could get relegated or promoted further and up the pyramid, right? So as a business, it's an inherently more risky purchase to own a football club, because if you are in the Premier League, it is the most valuable league in the world. But if you get relegated, suddenly you lose out on that television money, you lose out on that attention, and the value of your club will decrease. I think I saw something like Leeds United a few years ago when they got relegated. The value of their club dropped by 300 million overnight. So that's the scale of it. But there is the other positive, which is if you get promoted, the value increases significantly. So we'll delve more into that later. But let's have a look at how many clubs are actually owned by Americans in English football. So looking at the Premier League, there are 11 clubs owned by majority American investors. So Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Everton, Fulham, Bournemouth, and Leeds United. So 11 of the 20 Premier League clubs are owned by American majority investors. Now that's interesting, because to make any change in the Premier League, all the clubs vote on a change of rules, legislation, TV money, whatever it may be. They gather, and I believe you need 16 or 17 votes to win the majority. I could be wrong; it might be slightly less, but you need a majority either way. And now you've got 11. The Premier League's on 11 clubs owned by American investors. So what's to say if 5 more get purchased by Americans, that it may tie into interests that they have as a collective, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that's potentially what we're looking at here in the future. Now, beyond the Premier League, we have several in the EFL as well, and we will delve more into a couple of them. But Birmingham City, my club, are one of them. Wrexham, Millwall, Swansea City, Ipswich Town, Charlton Athletic, West Bromwich Albion, Norwich City, Portsmouth, Sheffield United, Carlisle United, Leyton Orient, Gillingham, Crawley Town, and Cambridge United. That makes it 27 of the 92 clubs in England are majority owned by American investors. There are 2 other clubs that have minority US ownerships as of now, Barnsley and Lincoln City. So that would make it 29 out of 92 have US ownership or minority investment. So we're seeing that over a quarter of English football is now owned by American, and particularly at the top end of English football, actually, as I named 11 Premier League clubs. And several in the EFL. I believe there's 11 in the Championship as well out of 24. So it's really at the top end of domestic English football, not at the bottom end. So it is definitely growing. So when we look at the comparison with NFL franchises, I've picked out 3 franchises based on the Forbes valuation list on how much it would take to purchase these franchises. Now, as I said, there's 32 teams in the National Football League. So the most expensive is the Dallas Cowboys, who are valued at $13 billion. Number 16, so exactly middle of the pack, halfway through, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at $6.6 billion. And number 32 is the Cincinnati Bengals at $5.25 billion. So that's the lowest it would cost to purchase outright the franchise as of now, according to Forbes' valuation list. This is really interesting because if you actually look at those 3 teams, the most successful in recent years is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are exactly middle of the pack, who've won a Super Bowl under Tom Brady in 2020, 2021, something like that, and are consistently in the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals have made the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl against the Rams in 2021. And the Dallas Cowboys actually haven't made a championship game since 1996. That's not an insult towards the Cowboys. It's just stating the facts that they are the most valuable franchise by a long, long way. And yet they haven't had success on the field, which shows that American marketing and commercialization, revenue-wise, can increase the value of a club or franchise significantly, because the Cowboys are by far the best marketed club. Every year in the NFL, you'll see they get the most primetime games typically, even though they haven't had that on-the-field success as much as these other franchises. But let's have a look at football. So I've picked out the top 3 valued football clubs in the world, right? We've got 2 Spanish clubs and 1 English club. So Real Madrid and Barcelona are owned by memberships, so they can't be bought, but if they were to be valued, this is what they'd be at. Real Madrid are $6.75 billion, also according to Forbes. Manchester United are $6.6 billion, and Barcelona are $5.65 billion. Right. So Barcelona are only £400 million more expensive than the Cincinnati Bengals. Barcelona is one of the biggest football clubs in the world. The Cincinnati Bengals are not as well known globally by a long shot, yet the value is only 400 million less. So that shows the value of NFL and why it's so much more expensive for an American to go and purchase that and get into that immediately. Yes, they could get minority stakes and that kind of thing, but overall outright to buy into it. So, but we've looked at the top end of football, the very cream of the crop in terms of historical success. Let's have a look 8 EFL clubs, because we're talking about this promotion relegation system. So the famous one is Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack bought Wrexham for £2 million, right? When they were in the National League. Now they're in the EFL Championship, worth £150 million. What a significant return on investment. Birmingham City, Tom Wagner of Knighthead Capital Management bought Birmingham City for an initial 45.6% stake at £5.3 million. This has now been completed. 100% stake has been bought. It's rumoured the total valuation of the club is £22 million. It was, right, when they bought it. But also, he would have had to spend about 100 million clearing Birmingham City's debt under the previous ownership, and significant investment in St Andrews at Knighthead Park and other things, which we'll get into later. But overall, the price is nothing compared to getting into an NFL franchise at all. Recent topic is Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday have recently gone into administration and had several points deductions. Would cost a rumour between 45 million to 80 million pounds for 100% ownership of the club and Hillsborough Stadium. Sheffield Wednesday, in a very historic city in Sheffield, it's quite famous. It's a famous, rich club with history. That would only cost between 45 million to £80, which is pennies compared to what it would cost to purchase an NFL franchise. So you look at those EFL clubs in the valuation. Okay, so what's the potential if they get to the Premier League? Well, the winners of the 24-25 Championship playoff final are set to receive a minimum income of £200 million extra on top of their promotion, making it the most valuable matchup in the world. And that's not even winning the league or finishing second. The Premier League in 2023 agreed a £6.7 billion domestic television deal, which is split between the 20 clubs, right? So immediately, the broadcasting revenue goes up significantly, because in football, match day, broadcasting, and commercial are your three key income streams. And the broadcasting in the Premier League is where the value's really at. But also the match day, because you will get more fans, not just in your local towns and cities, but tourist fans visiting because you are an established Premier League club. And it is the most valuable football league in the world to play in, because you could sell your shirts, you could build stadiums, success is more likely with trophies, which gets more attention, broadcasting deals, etc. And the Premier League is by far the best league in European football. So we've established that for these EFL clubs, for an American owner to come into an EFL club that is valued at £100 million or less, they would get double that just from getting promoted in the playoff final, right? Maybe triple, maybe quadruple. So there is an incentive there for these American owners. And there's a view amongst American investors that football is severely underrated in terms of, and unsuccessful actually, with its marketing and commercial. And Americans are particularly high on that and very good. If you watch the Super Bowl, the adverts at halftime are a key example of that. People pay millions and billions to be on that, right? Not billions, but they pay a high percentage, certainly. So it's seen as they're not marketed that well in England, and I agree for the most part. They could be much better marketed, and I've seen that with how my clubs turn around, with how Wrexham's turned around, with even how Burnley as a club. Yes, they're not fighting at the top of the Premier League, but there's definitely more attention on them than there was when I was a kid. So looking at the value of celebrities to this global marketing, not all the clubs who are owned by American ownership have celebrities amongst them, but some do. We're talking about Tom Brady, who has a minority stake in Birmingham City. Same with Snoop Dogg at Swansea City. Former NFL player JJ Watt at Burnley. Comedian Will Ferrell at Leeds United. Actor Michael B. Jordan at Bournemouth. Singer and songwriter Ed Sheeran at Ipswich. And movie and television stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack at Wrexham. And some of those, particularly Birmingham and Wrexham, have really been able to capitalize on that with their two documentaries, the Disney Plus Welcome to Wrexham documentary and Birmingham's Amazon Prime Brady and the Blues, built in Birmingham. And they've split it basically between the investment of the celebrities. Now, I know Tom isn't the majority investor in Birmingham, whereas Ryan and Rob are in Wrexham. But either way, they've done that. And then the fan perspective as well. And there've been two really good documentaries as well. And they will have earned significant revenue from that. So that is something we're seeing more as well. Not just American businessmen investing into it, but getting celebrities alongside them to really promote the club. It's becoming more of a fashion. I mean, I just named 7 clubs there that have celebrity ownership or celebrity connections. So that's key. Now, I talked about the NFL at a significant rate, but I think it is key because there are 5 clubs in England that have owners that have ownership of an NFL franchise as well, whether that be majority or minority. 4 of these are majority ownership and 1 minority ownership. So we're looking at Arsenal and the Los Angeles Rams. Stan Kroenke owns both outright, so that's a significant connection. The minority investor is Birmingham City and the Las Vegas Raiders. Tom Brady and Tom Wagner, respectively, have a 5% stake each in the Las Vegas Raiders. Tom Brady is also a broadcaster on Fox for the NFL, so there's significant connections there between the two. Fulham, Shahid Khan, and Tony Khan own Fulham and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who play at Wembley Stadium every year annually during the NFL London games. Leeds United are owned by the 49ers group, obviously, who own San Francisco 49ers. So there's a connection there between Leeds and San Francisco 49ers. And the first one to do it, and the old one, whether people love them or hate them, is the Glazers, who own Manchester United and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's 32 NFL franchises, 5 football clubs connected to them. So that's a really interesting connection, and we might see more of that potentially with future projects. And I say this because Tottenham Hotspur also has a significant investment in the NFL and vice versa, with them hosting 2 NFL London games every year now since they built their new stadium. Wembley Stadium, the National Stadium of Football, also hosts the NFL annually. And in 5 years' time, the Birmingham Powerhouse Stadium is confirmed will be hosting the NFL. That's Birmingham City's new 62,000 capacity stadium that they're looking to build. And as I said earlier, I delve into 2 clubs, obviously Wrexham and Birmingham. Yes, people might be sick of hearing them, but they are the 2 best examples of how American ownership can bring successful commercialization. And Wrexham, as I said earlier, worth 2 million now, 150 million pounds, promoted all the way from the National League to the EFL Championship in 4 years. Birmingham City have the most revenue of any championship team ever, aside from the parachute payment teams who get relegated from the Premier League, and this exciting new stadium project. So that would be the first stadium to host an NFL game outside of London in England, with Birmingham being the second city and in the middle of the country. So that brings potential as well, and obviously the link between Tom Brady and that. Now, this is not a video to outright say that every American ownership is positive. You've had Aston Villa in the past, Randy Lerner. That didn't end great. You've seen others that have not ended great, particularly Manchester United. The Glazers, they own an NFL franchise as well, but they're not popular with the supporters in the slightest, You see, it's not a correlation between success and American ownership, but this is more an overview of why are they looking at this. And as from what I can see, it's that franchise versus promotion relegation system, which I mentioned at the beginning. It is so much cheaper to invest in the lower tiers of football and hope that by investing in that club, you can achieve promotion and therefore increase the valuation of the club significantly, rather than buying, let's say, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for $6.6 billion. Realistically, how much more can you grow them? They've already won a Super Bowl in recent years. So you can't just say, get in the Super Bowl and they're going to go up by $4 billion. It's not necessarily going to work like that. Dallas, like I said, haven't been in since 1996, and yet their value goes up year on year. So it's less of a guarantee. It's more of a commercial and marketing game. Football, on the other hand, the success on the pitch, which investors and owners feel like they can affect by pumping money into the clubs, whether that be in infrastructure, player development, academies, transfers, whatever it may be, they feel like they can have more of an effect. And as I said, the key example with Wrexham, £2 million to £150 million. And if they got to the Premier League, they would be worth probably at least £500 million. That's such a return on investment. such little time compared to the NFL, where it will probably take years and years to keep upping that valuation. And it's the same for other American sports. I picked the NFL because I think there's more of a connection to football, and it's the most valuable sports league in the world. But the NBA, NHL, these are the same. And the MLS, to a certain extent, is the same because it's a closed shop. But there is also a risk of relegation. So that's a little overview of why I think American investors are investing in English football and why I think it's a trend that will continue. I think they're severely undervalued, the clubs. It's a traditional sport in the country that it was created in. It is the most paid attention leagues to the world, the Premier League and the EFL Championship, I would say, on the whole. And they realised, you could take a team from League Two and in 10 years potentially have them as a Premier League team. And we've seen it in Wrexham with less time. So I think that's why they're continuing to invest. And I think not only that, I think the relationship between football and the NFL will continue to grow. I think we could get to a point where there's 10 NFL owners who own football clubs as well as a majority or minority investors. And I think you could get to the point where the Premier League is 3/4 of the league, so at least 15 is American owned. I think that's a really realistic assessment. If you put in, some of the more successful championship clubs as well, Ipswich's, Birmingham, Wrexham, West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United. If all of those got promoted to Premier League, for example, depending on who got relegated, but you're looking at Wolves, who'd be relegated, potentially West Ham. Those are not American-owned clubs, so they would be replaced. Obviously, it's 3 up, 3 down, but eventually you could see that. So if anyone wants me to delve into any more topics about a specific club, about the NFL, about football, let me know in the comments and I can delve further into a specific topic. But this was just a general overview. So thank you for watching the Pitch to Profit podcast. I've been your host, Oliver Keane. It has been a pleasure. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. As I said at the beginning, it would mean a lot to me. And have an awesome day. Thank you very much.